She couldn't take it anymore. She was right. To nurture and inspire the human spirit. So you see, the point being here is that we all make mistakes. Right? And that's why we've got to carry it around, and that's why we have to remember. That's why we go to church all the time, every Sunday, right? To remind ourselves of what's important. To remind ourselves of what's important. And what was important is that I was there to nurture and inspire Lynn's spirit, not mine. Everything turned out okay. Okay? Happily married, 5 grandkids, everything's okay. But I still have those thoughts. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't have those thoughts. I do, because that's me. What I have learned is to shut up, Howard. So, that's life, right? We all have those things, and we go through them. The issue is being able to look at something to remind you of why you're here. Lynn and I have a value statement, a mission and a value statement for our marriage. It sits, as we walk into our closet, it sits on the left. It says, why we are married. We've changed it from time to time as we've had grandchildren and different things. But it always is reminding us why we love each other, why we're married, why we're committed to each other. We're 2 individuals, right? Going down, we have our own paths, but we have a path together. They're all valid. See, if you have values, you got to be willing to pay the price. So writing those things down, that mission down, a price I needed to pay that night was to say to Lynn, honey, I am sorry. I was totally wrong, and I understand why I was wrong. See, I'm sorry is easy to say, but understanding and accepting why you missed it, it's important. Sometimes it's not to another person, is it? See, a lot of the things that happen in our lives are just between us and us. Us and us, you get that? Okay, more us's. I've got about 7 boards of directors that sit on my shoulder. Okay, now come on, don't tell me you guys don't have. You have them. You don't. You're talking right now in this room, and some of you are saying this guy is certifiable. We need to get him in the closest ward that's close to the university. But we all have those voices talking to us all the time. Albert, my favorite voice because he's always telling me what a wonderful guy I am. He's telling me, Howard, you're good. We had a nice dinner at Nancy Gray's house tonight, and it was wonderful, and I'm sitting in there, and I didn't know I was going to get to have dinner in the president's house. That made me feel pretty good about myself, right? And Albert's saying, hey, attaboy, you're pretty special. Fortunately, Jack is on the other shoulder, and he's saying, hey, Buster, you're not that good. You're not that good. Don't get carried away. I'm not kidding you. That was my dialogue. From walking out of the front door of Nancy's home to getting into the van. That was what was going on in my brain. And it goes on in all of our brains, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. It's there. The issue is we need to learn how to live with it, how to manage it, not how to control it. You see, if I reject any one of those people that sit on my shoulder, and there's a number of them, right? If I just say, out of here, I'm not listening to you, they come back with a vengeance. They come back with a vengeance. What I've learned to do is say, I hear you, okay? I don't have time for you right now. Don't have time for you right now. This is where I am. So we'll talk later. And it works. And it works. So if you have values, you have to be willing to pay the price. It's not just I'm sorry. It's understanding why and be able to talk about it. At Starbucks, we're the same way. We screw up all the time. Plenty of mistakes. But we're always willing to step up for our people. We had health insurance for part-time workers right from the beginning, before any company in our kind of industry had it. If you work 20 hours a week or more, you got the same exact health insurance that the chairman of the board got. Okay? Thanks. I appreciate that, but we didn't do it for the reasons because we believed that it was the right thing to do. Why? It was simple. We wanted to be able to walk down the hallway, look everybody in the face, and say we're in it together. Everybody got stock options. Part-time workers, full-time workers. There's a difference in stock options by the amount of money that you earned. But everybody got stock options, so everybody had equity. in the company right from the beginning. Still have it today. Now, do you think either one of those is cheap? Okay, the cost of health insurance for part-time workers is approaching the cost the money we spend on coffee. You know, used to not have to write off or expense stock options. Remember those days, for those of you that in the business world. Now you expense stock options, but we still do the same thing. We've had tremendous pressure from outside organizations, right, from investors to get rid of those things because they cost a lot of money, but we won't budge because we think it's right. And we want to stay with it. So if you have values, you've got to be willing to pay the price. If you're all in it together, if you care about other people, then you do the right things. And we felt they would do the right things. Howard Schultz was raised outside of Brooklyn, New York, in a place called Canarsie. Anybody know Canarsie? Okay. Howard was raised in the housing projects. The best job that his dad ever had was a diaper delivery truck driver. Anybody remember those? Right, they'd come to your house and you'd have this thing that just stunk, and you know, you'd have to be washing every diaper, and that's what the job his dad had. Had no health insurance, had no workman's comp. Got hurt on the job. Comes home, can't work. No money in the family. Howard never forgot that. He was about 13 years old, and he never forgot it. Said, if I ever get in a position where I can do something about that, I'm going to do something about that. And he did. Orrin Smith, who was the president of Starbucks and then became the CEO, he was raised in a single parent mother, head of household in a farming community in western Washington. Father was an alcoholic. Father left, 5 children. Mother raised them all. No money in the household. Orrin never forgot. I was raised by 2 immigrant parents. One came from Bulgaria, the other one came from Latvia. Both were raised on dirt floors. They came here in the early 1900s, right, to try to find a better life. Trust me, they never let me forget where they had come from. You see, if you have values, you've got to be willing to pay the price. They have a price tag. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's numerical. So principle number 2. How are we doing here? Okay. The person who sweeps the floor should choose the broom. So what I mean by this is this. For most of you work in some kind of organization where people are coming in and out of the organizations. Typically what we do, and all of us can be guiltier to some extent than another, and certainly we've been guilty at Starbucks, we bring people into our organizations. You know, we run an ad for floor sweepers, and we get 5 or 6 people that, you know, send in their whatever it is, resumes or call up, and we choose one, and we say, you're going to be our floor sweeper. And we say, there's the room, here's the broom. Go sweep it. Not the way. See, no matter what the job is in life, they all have meaning, or at least they all need to have meaning. Unfortunately, we look at many of the jobs that we have in this world, and we destroy human dignity. How many have read the book, I hate this senior moment, Studs Terkel, by Studs Terkel, called Working in America? Anybody read that book? If you haven't read it, it's a wonderful book. It's an old book. Studs died a couple of years ago. Studs was a working person's writer. He wrote about the common person, about people that, you know, were living their lives, trying to make a difference, trying to achieve whatever dreams that they had. And in this book, he talks about the issues that we face. It's not just in America, but, you know, kind of the world in general. And he had this quote. He was interviewing a druggist, and he said, a neighborhood druggist laments the corner drugstore. That's kind of fading now, because little shops like his can't compete. Most of us, like the assembly line worker, have jobs that are too small for our spirit, too small to fill our souls. In an attempt to dumb down everything, to get everything so it just works perfectly, in an attempt to get rid of all mistakes, right? It's what we've done. And then we hire people into our organizations, and we don't even give them any room. So we hire the person to sweep floors at Starbucks. So the way I'd like to see it done is this. is that we hire somebody to sweep floors. We bring in, let's call him Jim. So Jim comes in, first day of work. We sit down with Jim, and we say to Jim, Jim, I'd like to talk to you about how what you're going to be doing in Starbucks is going to help the whole organization. How sweeping floors is going to add to the future profits, the future success of Starbucks. And we go through all the stuff, clean floors, customers want to come back, all the usual things. And then we say, Jim, you know, not only that, but we have 2 goals for you, and I'd like to talk about them with you. The first goal is we would like to have the shiniest floors in the city of Seattle, as measured by all our competitors. So I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to show you some of our competitors, show you some of our own stores that I think do pretty well, so that you can get an idea about what really shiny floors look like. The second goal, Jim, is we need to increase our productivity every year. You know, companies are afraid to talk about that you got to increase productivity. You got to grow in some way or you're going behind, right? It's like human beings. We're either growing or we're falling back. We're either learning or we're not. So, Jim, 5% a year. Do you understand those goals? And what the 5% means is that, you know, we'll be able to pay you more. Maybe you'll get a chance for future opportunities in the company. And we continue on with this noble experiment called Starbucks. Do you understand? Yeah, I get it. So here are the phone numbers, Jim, for you to go call of 3 of our best floor sweepers. Mary in Miami and Tony in Los Angeles and Vince in Chicago. Call them up. And in 2 weeks' time, I'd like to get together with you again and talk about how you're doing. By the way, we have 5 brooms for you to choose from. We have a left-handed broom, we have a right-handed broom, we have a straw broom, we have a plastic broom, and we got a push broom. Pick any one of those you like. If you try one for a week and you don't like it, or 2 days and you think there's something better, come back and get another one. No problem. So 2 weeks go by, and Jim, we have an appointment with Jim. I have an appointment with Jim. Jim, how's it going? It's Howard, it's going fantastic. I want you to come to my store. You will not believe how it looks. I called all those people that you told me to call, and I went to look at some of our competitors. I'm telling you, you can eat off my floors. You can see your face in my floor. They are perfect. But Howard, you will not believe what I have found. I was on the internet, and I was digging through the internet. I got down below all those Google recommendations, and I got to the stuff, the meat, and I found the magic broom. I know that if I could have this broom, that I could increase productivity by 10%. I could double the goal for productivity. Can I have that broom? You know how many organizations say to their people when they ask for, can I have a new broom? You know, you're just a floor sweeper. Use the broom I gave you. You know, can't you see I'm busy? And it's usually not with words. What is it with? A roll of the eyes. It says, what you do is not important. I have better things to do with my time than to talk to you about a broom. It's going on in all your organizations. Do you think not? I guarantee it's going on right now in all of your, I don't care where you work, what you do, for profit, not for profit, it's going on. I will tell you that it goes on in our families. That's the worst part. That's the worst part is it goes on in our families. Our children come up to us, you know, and they want our ear, and I am guilty. It took me a long time to figure out they wanted my ear. They didn't want my mouth. So let me tell you a story about a broom. About 17 years ago, I got a call from a woman named Dina Campion. Dina was the district manager for Southern California for Starbucks. We just opened in Southern California. She had the whole kind of Santa Monica, Beverly Hills area, really tough duty. You know, all you were seeing was beautiful movie stars and handsome movie stars and all that stuff. You know, it's a great place. Lots of action, lots of energy. Down by Venice Beach. Anybody been to Venice Beach? You see all those bodybuilders? Yeah. I go down there and I kind of crook, you know. I don't want anybody to see me down there. So Dana says to me, she says, Howard, can you come on down? Well, I love getting out of the office. I don't know how many of you worked in a corporation. There's nothing better than getting in the field. There always seems to be sanity in the field, you know. Never is sanity in the office. And so I said, sure, I'll come down. So about 3 weeks later, I go down to visit Dina, and Dina takes me on a tour. She takes me on a tour of 3 of our competitor stores and 4 or 5 of our own stores. And in one of the competitor stores, she buys me a drink. And she says, Howard, I'd like you to try this. we're getting about 30 people a day coming into our stores for a drink like this. And I think we need to experiment and see if we can't come up with something like it. So I took a sip. It was pretty good. You know, and I don't have a college degree, but I could look up on the menu board and say that drink sells for $3. Times 30, I could multiply that out. That was $90. Times 7, give or take $600 a week. Times 4 weeks, 24. You know, over $30,000 a year in volume. We were doing about $600,000 a year per average store at that time. So that was a 5% lift. But when I looked at what was made up this drink, I said, man, this is going to be high profit margin. It's got a lot of ice. Love that ice. So I said, okay, Dina, let me take it back to Seattle, and I'll get the team together, and we'll talk about it. And I didn't have any samples to bring, but so I got all the usual suspects. They had a marketing, they had a product development, and a warehouse supply chain people. And I said, here's Dina's got this idea, you know, Dina's broom. And she's got this idea, and she knows what her goals are to increase business and serve our customers, et cetera, among other goals. And I think we need to try this. And Dina's really pushing for it, so I think we ought to do something to help her out. So we went around the table, and you know, there's kind of some frowns, and finally the head of marketing, the person that was in charge of product development, stood up. George was his name. And George said, Howard, we don't do that here. We're in the coffee business. That's not a product that we want to have. It doesn't fit who we are. We're a serious coffee place. And I said, George, you don't understand. Dina's goals and us, we're trying to, you know, get more business and trying to satisfy our customers, and we get 30 people a day coming in to get this drink. You know, we had to try it. He says, Howard, I'm in charge of product development. We're not doing it. So, you know, discretion being the better part of valor, I wasn't going to fall on my sword because it was 7-1 against. So, okay, fine. You know, you win some, you lose some. You know, you have to make decisions along the way of what you really fight for and what you don't. So I called up Dina, and she was disappointed, and, you know, naturally so. But I said, let's give it 6 months, 12 months, we'll come back at it. So about 3 weeks later, my phone rings. This is before there was caller ID. So I didn't know who was calling. Dina here. Dina Campion. I hope all of you either have somebody that you work with or have somebody that reports to you that is like a Dina Campion. Very quiet, big brown eyes. Right? But Dina's like one of those little dogs with the really sharp teeth. And when she grabs onto your calf, I don't care what you do, you cannot get her off. She is so stubborn, so persistent. You know, she makes me look like an amateur. Howard, can you come down again? I said, Dina, I was just there. I know what you want. You know, give it a break. Howard, please come down. I said, Dina, I can't just come down, special trip. I was just there. You know, but I'll be in San Diego in about 3 weeks, month, whatever it is. I'll stop on my way back. Here's the date. So I meet her in the Santa Monica store. And she says, why don't you go sit over there? That was at the time when we had these high tables and high bar stools, you know, trying to make you a little uncomfortable so you'd leave sooner. And, I went, sat, she brought me up these 3 little drinks, and we have these little sample cups, and she brought up the 3 little drinks, and I took a sip. I said, gee, these are really good. How'd you do this? I said, well, we went out and we bought a blender. We went to the milk company. We got the non-fat milk solids, and then we went to Ghirardelli, and we got some chocolate. And I said, Dina, what are you doing? Are you trying to get me fired? You knew what the answer was. Let it go. And then she looked up with those big brown eyes and smiled as her teeth sunk deeper into my calf. And she said, Howard, please let us try this. We got people walking out of our stores down here every day because we don't have a drink like this. So one of those times in life where you got to make a decision. We all have them. The rule book says one thing, and your heart and your brain or whatever say another one. So I said to Dina, okay, Dina, you know what my 4 rules are because that's all I like to have. I hate rules. I think we have way too many rules. I mean, some we need to have for safety and all that stuff, but most things that we have that serve other people, we don't need rules about. We just need common sense, good people that care about other people, and things turn out okay. So I said, Dina, you know what the 4 rules are? Don't do anything illegal, don't do anything immoral, don't do anything unethical, and sure as heck don't poison anybody. You can live with those 4 rules, we're okay. But Dina, you got a 5th rule. Do not tell a soul what you're doing. You can't have a big sign, you can only have a little sign. I want you to call me every night with the results, so in case we have to cut it off quick, we're going to be prepared to do it. Do not call my office phone. Call home. A little paranoid, but not too much. Dina and her broom. First week, Dina met her numbers, actually surpassed her numbers, over 30 drinks a day. Second week, 50 drinks a day. Third week, 70 drinks a day. 70 times $3, 210. Huge, big profit. I'm thinking to myself, Howard, you are a genius. I'm thinking they're going to throw rose petals at my feet when I bring this back to Seattle. So I had Dina and Ann Ewing, who was the store manager who helped create it, and the barista, who I can't remember his name now. They flew up to Seattle. They brought all their stuff with them. We called a meeting. This time I had Howard Schultz there, and we served the samples. So there were a few little smiles at the table, but not too many. And I said, you know, here's what we got. Here's what we've learned. You would have thought that I put an atomic bomb down in the middle of the table. Honest to God, it's true. The head of marketing, George, gets up, and he gets about 2 feet from my face, and he takes his finger, and he said, Howard, I thought we told you that we weren't doing... Are you okay with this?
Yes.
Okay. It's not personal, trust me.
So far.
Okay. Oh, so far, okay. I thought we told you that we weren't going to do this. We're not in that business. He looked at Howard Schultz, and he said, Howard, you tell him to stop it right now. So my non-emotional self got the piece of paper with all the numbers on it, and I took it and I slammed it down the table, gently. Well, not so gently. And I said, oh yeah, look at this. And then I looked at Howard and I said, Howard, give us 90 days. At the end of 90 days, if you don't like what you've seen, we'll stop. I'm not stupid. I knew with the volume, if it even came close, you know, that wasn't going away. What do you think the drink is? It's Frappuccino. Right, it's Frappuccino. What do you think the global sales for Frappuccino are for Starbucks? Bottled form, fresh, and made in the stores? They're over $3 billion. Dina and her broom. Right? It could have been rejected. You know, never to come up again. Who knows? Now, I think someday maybe it would have, but you don't know. You don't know. Now, not all brooms are worth $3 billion, you know? They're not. But, you know, sometimes just the little thing, and more importantly, when, you know, the person who sweeps the floor should choose the broom has meaning to it. It means that the people that are doing the work know more about what's going on in your organization in that particular area than the people that are not. It's not complex. This is not rocket science. Now, I'm not going to ask the barista to choose the IPO price of Starbucks. But if I want to know what customers are thinking, what's going on in the marketplace, where we should put a new store, where do you think I go? I go to the baristas and the store managers, and the district managers. They know better than anybody. They know better than anybody. But yet all too often we just roll our eyes and say, you know, just make the drink. Just sweep the floor. And how many opportunities just go by? You know how many companies, thousands of companies and organizations have been started by somebody that couldn't get done inside their organization, a great idea. It happens all the time. In the high-tech world, it's endemic. They don't even wait to tell anybody about the dream. They just think up the dream and leave because nobody's asking them. What they should be doing is asking them every day, got an idea, got an idea, got an idea? You know? So let's make jobs that are big enough to fill people's souls and fill their spirits. That means there's going to be some mistakes along the way, but remember the rules. You know, we don't need much more than that. Let's give people a shot in their areas of expertise. I'm not pleading for anarchy here. I'm not saying everybody's idea counts and every idea needs to be done. Doesn't. But at least we can listen and honor the human being, even if it is only a broom. Okay, last story. About 12 years ago, I got a call from a man named Dean Turenga. And Dean Turenga was the regional vice president for Starbucks in Washington, D.C. And I was in Seattle. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning my time, 6 o'clock his time. And he said, Howard, we've had a disaster. I was thinking disaster, fire, something, I was not prepared for what he told me next. That one of our assistant managers went into our store in Georgetown and found 3 of our people dead on the floor in pools of blood. Didn't know, never in my wildest imagination did I ever think that over selling a cup of coffee, that 3 young people would lose their lives. A 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 17-year-old. It was a 17-year-old young man, first week on the job, first job ever. He lived in the neighborhood. His parents were so proud that he got the job at Starbucks. And 1 week later, he's dead. It was a bungled holdup, an inside job. Somebody told somebody that there was money in the store, and we had safes that you couldn't open, and there but for the grace of God go I. Both of my kids worked at Starbucks as baristas. Those 3 kids just happened to be in the wrong spot. So I said to Dean, I got to get off the phone. I got to get to Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz just happened to be in New York at the time. So I called Howard. I said, Howard, you won't believe this. You got to get to Washington, D.C. right away. We need your help. We need somebody there that just makes whatever decision needs to be made. So immediately got to Washington, D.C., arrived at the store, all the yellow tape, police were there. Our people were gathered around, and he started asking the police what should he do, and they advised him you need to get some counselors and some social workers because you're going to have a workforce that's traumatized. So he did. But then he did what no CEO should ever do. He got all the telephone numbers of all the families and the addresses, and he called each one, and he said to them, I'd like to come visit you. So Howard got in his car. He went to each home to home to home. At each home, he sat down with the family. He apologized. He took responsibility. He said, I am sorry. I own this. I own it. Now, it wasn't Howard's fault. How do you protect against that, Difficult. But he didn't care. What mattered was that he cared about the families and those children. You see, most CEOs would get on the phone, and the first call they would make was to their chief counsel. And the second call they'd make is to their PR agency. How do I spin this? How do I spin this? And Howard didn't do that. He just went from home to home to home. He said to each family, we will do whatever it takes. We will be here with you. We won't leave you. Your children will not be forgotten. If you go to that Georgetown store, you'll see it out in front of the Georgetown store. We closed the Georgetown store. We dedicated all the profits to a nonviolence fund, Washington, D.C. Now it's just money. That's easy to do. But the point is here's a CEO. He stayed there, chairman CEO, stayed there a week. He didn't worry about the lawsuit that was going to happen. Didn't even think about it. Just said what's important here are the people. Caring about the people. He got news reporters one time, talked to everybody. Didn't try to hold anything back. When he didn't know something, he said, I don't know. I don't know. What kind of message do you think that sent into the organization? We'd had things like, not as bad as that before, but other things, but this was a big one. It said you can do anything you need to do to take care of your people. Does it mean we do it all the time? No, we fail. But most of the time we do. And Howard's example set those kind of things in motion. You see, if you say you care, then you got to care like you really mean it. It's not for free. You know, it's not for free. You got to step up and take the responsibility. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a CEO, if you're a student, you know, if you're a manager, so whatever you are, a parent, you step up and take the responsibility. Because that's the example that we need to set. And that's who we need to be as human beings, not hiding behind things. So, you know, at the end of the day, leading with compassion never stops. All of you are leaders. You're either leaders of yourselves, right? You're leaders of small groups of people or organizations, but all of you are leaders. Being a leader is a 24/7 job. It isn't just when it's convenient. It isn't just when it's convenient. You have to be there when you need to be there. Sometimes it's just for yourself. Sometimes it's for others. So at the end of the day, it's not about the coffee. It will never be about the coffee. It will always be about the people. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to just close with a poem. For what it's worth, it's never too late, or in my case, too early to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Stop whenever you want. You can change or you can stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best of it, and I hope that you make the best of it. And I hope that you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you've never felt before. I hope you meet people with a different point of view. I hope you live a life that you're proud of. And if you find that you're not, I hope you have the strength to start all over again. The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons. Thank you. So I've been told we have a few minutes for some conversation, some thoughts, some questions, whatever you like. And do people have microphones? Or I can repeat it if somebody wants to stay. Or if you want to go, go. Is there any out there? So, yes.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Resumes, it seems to be.
So the question was about, I said that it's not about titles or degrees of all those things. Now, first of all, you got to take everything I say with a grain. No. My point about it is this, that you will not have a fulfilling life if that's what you focus on. I don't mean that if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to school and get your degree, if that's what's driving you, if that's your passion and your purpose in life. What I'm talking about is don't let those things get in the way of having a productive life, helping others, helping yourself, being a human being. Don't get focused on the stuff. Focus on the people, because that's what we're here to do. So, and the second part of the question is tough labor market out there, right? It's tough for young people now. It's tough for old people. It's tough for everybody. So, you know, and sometimes you go get a job to get a job, right? Because you need to earn a living. Nothing wrong with that. Just be honest with yourself, right? We have a lot of people working at Starbucks, right, that have professional degrees that need health insurance. And they're great people, and they do a wonderful job. They're there for that. We know they're not going to stay for 30 years, but they're there to do that. So try to focus. You can have short-term goals, intermediate goals, long-term goals. You know, put it all into perspective. The second thing is this, that values do count. The onus is on all of us to choose the places that we work. Just taking a job, you know, I realize it's tough now. It's easy to say right now. You know, I'm a retired guy, you know, and all that. But you know, I always felt that people should really enjoy what they do. And if it's being a barista, love it for the time that you're there. Make it a passion of serving another person a cup of coffee. Whatever it is you're going to do at the time. All of this is going to go away. When, I don't know. It will go away. Things will be better. How long? you know. For us old people that have been around a little while, the 70s were horrendous. We had 10% unemployment. Remember, inflation was like I forget what it was. It was like, I mean, it was just like a rocket ship, you know. And so this will pass. And stay focused. You're young, okay? You can live off of nothing, okay? you know those peanut butter sandwiches, they're good, a lot of protein. Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you all coming.